Natural flavors. Okay, everyone relax. We're gonna put the pepper spray down, stop Googling thyroid cleanse, and have a reasonable adult conversation about natural flavors. Because based on the actual science, natural flavors might be the most overrated villain in your entire pantry. Are they mysterious? Yeah. Are they secretly destroying your hormones and autoimmune system? Almost certainly no. So let's talk about why everyone is terrified of them and whether that fear actually makes any sense. Hey there, friends. I'm Jake, and this is Bottom Line, where we cut through the supplement noise with some actual science, a little humor, and some hard-earned industry experience. Been in the supplement industry on the brand side and on the manufacturing side for well over a decade. I also do consulting, so if you're a brand looking for help with formulas, strategy, or just avoiding dumb mistakes, check out the link in the description. If you spend even 5 minutes in wellness TikTok, Instagram, or the comment section of literally any clean eating reel, natural flavors are treated like radioactive sludge. I'm talking full villain arc. Same tier as seed oils. Same tier as glyphosate. Same tier as your uncle who forwards AI videos on Facebook at 3 a.m., convinced they are real. And the claims about natural flavors are always massive. It's never like, this gave me a slight headache. It's always, this destroyed my thyroid. This wrecked my hormones. This ruined my gut. This almost ended my bloodline. And listen, if someone feels better after cutting something out of their diet, I'm not here to argue with their lived experience. But what I am interested in is how one vague ingredient quietly became the scapegoat for every unexplained health issue on the internet. Because here's the real reason natural flavors freak people out. It's not because of a study. It's not because of a medical consensus. It's because the label doesn't tell you exactly what's in it. And in wellness culture, I don't know what that is, automatically translates to, it's definitely trying to kill me. If your health feels off, it's way more emotionally satisfying to blame one shadowy ingredient than to accept that stress, sleep, calories, movement, genetics, and time all exist at once. So instead of letting the algorithm decide what we panic about this week, let's answer the most boring but important question of this entire video. What the hell are natural flavors anyway? All right, moment of truth. When you see natural flavors on a label, what that actually means is pretty boring. Legally, a natural flavor just means the flavor compounds originally came from something that was once alive. Plants, fruit, spices, herbs, coffee, meat, dairy, that kind of thing. It does not mean healthy. It does not mean whole food. And it definitely does not mean it passed a spiritual background check conducted by Instagram moms. In real life, a natural flavor is usually a tiny blend of an extract plus a carrier plus something that helps it mix evenly into food. Sometimes it's dissolved in alcohol, sometimes glycerin, sometimes propylene glycol, and sometimes, trigger warning, the flavor is riding around in maltodextrin. And this is where people short circuit. They hear natural, but then they hear a word that sounds chemical, and their brain goes, nope, poison, FDA psyop. But here's the key thing most people miss. Natural flavor does not mean raw ingredient. It means a chemically identified flavor compound that came from a natural source. So yes, it's processed, because flavor doesn't magically teleport from fruit into your drink. Now, is it vague on the label? Absolutely. And that vagueness is where a lot of the mistrust comes from. And honestly, that specific part is fair. But there's a huge difference between saying this label isn't transparent enough and saying this ingredient class is secretly destroying everyone's endocrine system. So now that the mystery is gone, let's answer the question that actually matters. Has this stuff actually been shown to be dangerous in humans at the amounts we consume? Here's the part where the internet usually gets mad. When you actually look at the human safety data, natural flavors, as a category, have not been shown to cause widespread harm. Full stop. These compounds aren't just vibes-based ingredients. They've been evaluated for safety at the amounts people actually consume in food. Not at inject it into a rat 500 times the dose levels, but at real-world intake levels. There is no solid human evidence linking natural flavors by themselves to things like Hashimoto's, autoimmune disease, or hormone destruction. If that signal existed at population scale, we would absolutely see it by now. Now, does that mean every natural compound on Earth is magically harmless forever? No. Some individual compounds, natural or synthetic, have absolutely been reclassified over time as new data comes out. That's not a conspiracy. That's literally how toxicology works. But a lot of fear-based posts rely on this trick where they'll say this molecule affected hormones in a lab study. Yeah, so does caffeine, and sunlight, and stress, and broccoli, if you torture it hard enough. That does not mean that trace amounts in food are rewiring human endocrine systems. Now, some people really do get headaches, migraines, or weird reactions from specific flavors. That's real. I'm not denying that. But the jump from this one specific thing bothers me to this ingredient class is killing everyone, that's where the story breaks down. Unfortunately, that story travels way faster online, which brings us to how this whole conversation usually goes in real life. Oh cool, this one's strawberry flavored. Nice. Citric acid, glutamine, natural flavors. Wait, what did you just say? Natural flavors? Drop it! It's too late! It's already in your aura! We have to go! Your thyroid is already melting down as we speak! It's a hydration stick. This is how it starts! I won't watch you go down this dark road! Here's the part nobody likes to hear. Natural flavors aren't the thing quietly wrecking modern health. They usually just show up inside the foods that already cause problems. Chips, candy, snack bars, energy drinks, hyper-palatable nonsense. Those foods are linked to overeating, blood sugar chaos, weight gain, and poor metabolic health. Not because of trace strawberry flavor, but because they're engineered to be cheap, dense, snackable, and impossible to stop eating. Natural flavors didn't make the food unhealthy. The food was already unhealthy. The flavor just made it easier to eat the whole bag. Look, if 80% of your diet is whole food, meat, fruit, vegetables, grains, dairy, natural flavors are not your bottleneck. They are not what's standing between you and optimal health. If health actually worked like wellness TikTok claims, we'd all be cured by avoiding one ingredient and buying matching glass jars. But if natural flavors aren't the real villain, why did an entire category of brands pop up around removing them? And this is the part where the story gets profitable. Because the fear around natural flavors didn't just stay in comment sections. Brands noticed it. And some of them built entire empires on removing the ingredients people were already scared of. A perfect example is Just Ingredients. They didn't invent a new category of nutrition. They took existing supplement formulas and removed the stuff the internet had decided was scary. And to be clear, that's not evil. That's smart business. They read the market perfectly. Their products are basic, clean label, not bad, not revolutionary. But the story around them, finally safe, finally clean, finally free from the ingredient villain of the week. That story scales way faster than education ever will. Now that brand alone does massive volume, selling versions of things that already existed. Protein, electrolytes, basic supplements. Not because the formulas are magic, but because fear is a very powerful marketing engine. And once you realize that, you start to see natural flavors less as a health crisis and more as a very convenient villain that makes a lot of people a lot of money. So, after all that, should you personally be avoiding natural flavors? Here's the honest, boring, adult answer. If you've noticed that a specific product with a specific flavor consistently makes you feel off, cool. Don't drink that one. That's not weakness, that's pattern recognition. But turning that into a universal toxin story,
this ingredient is destroying everyone's health.
That's where people drift from self-awareness into superstition. If your diet is mostly real food, you're sleeping, you're not chronically stressed, natural flavors are not your bottleneck. Your body doesn't collapse because there was lemon essence in your sparkling water. You don't need to live like an ingredient detective to be healthy. You need consistency, not constant fear. Which brings us to the real reason this ingredient became such a cultural villain in the first place. Natural flavors became the villain of the week for the same reason every ingredient does. They're vague, they're misunderstood, and they make a great story. But when you zoom all the way out, natural flavors are not the thing standing between you and good health. They're not secretly wrecking your hormones, they're not quietly collapsing your thyroid, and they're not why modern diets are broken. Ultra-processed food patterns, chronic stress, bad sleep, and overconsumption. Those are the boring villains that don't fit nicely into a TikTok. Fear feels productive, but it usually isn't. Understanding and education almost always is. That's what this channel is for. Cutting through ingredient panic and talking about what actually matters. If that's your thing, you'll probably like the rest of what I make. So no, natural flavors aren't the villain of your pantry. They're just the most convenient one to be scared of. Thanks for checking out Bottom Line. I'll see you next time.